Set. What's up, everyone? This is Zarkon, aka Fifth Rate Duelist, here with Hani Jawhari, who just won the YCS with Tearlaments, who's gonna do a Tearlaments 101 for the people who are newer to the deck and don't know what was happening during that finals when there were like 30 cards on the table. So, Hani, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Hani Jawhari. A lot of you might know me. I travel a lot. I've been playing the game for quite some time now. I go to every event. I try to prioritize playing the game as much as I can. I think playing is very good because it gets you more experience with the game. I felt like if you just continually play and you continuously grind, you could pretty much learn scenarios as you go on. And I just try to grind as much as I can during the free time that I have throughout the day. And honestly, even if you put in 1 hour a day and you do that every single day, you will get ahead of a lot of people. I feel like this game, you just really need to play a lot in order to see success. And me personally, I feel like playing at least 3 hours a day is ideal. And I mean actually playing your matches out, not playing and slacking off. I mean you're trying your best to win those games. And the best way for me to do that is grinding rated and playing with friends. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dueling Book, but I feel like that is the best source of playing Yu-Gi-Oh in today's game. I feel like IRL playtesting could be inefficient just depending on who you're with. While if you're playing online, you could just play matches over and over and over again, and you could verse you could verse either really good people or you could verse really average people. And I feel like having the best of both worlds is great, because that's what you're gonna verse at a YCS anyways. You're gonna verse some good people and you're gonna verse some average duelists. So I mean that's what you're gonna play in a tournament. So I feel like playing on Dueling Book first is key to getting where you want to go. As for learning archetypes and learning about decks and mastering them, I feel like the only way you could do that is by playing them and playing each archetype. I've played with pretty much every single card in this game. I've played different archetypes. I've played with Madolches. I've played with the Nichiria deck when those cards are released. It's about trying everything and getting an understanding of what every card does, because whenever you verse those decks in a tournament, it might become relevant. Well, for tier, I felt like it was more known that this deck was going to be big. It showed a lot of results in the OCG, and with the Ishizu cards, you could see that it pretty much dominated the OCG over the last few months. So it being released in the TCG, it was no surprise that the deck was going to be good. But it's about how to come to an optimal build, and how did I optimize my list. Well, first, when I'm playing a deck, I like to start off by maxing out on every card in the deck. So when I started playing the Tearlaments Ishizu deck, I started playing 3 of every single Ishizu card in my deck. And eventually I realized which ones I want in my deck, and I realized which ones I would want lower numbers in my deck. And I felt like Agito was a one of. As soon as I started testing, it just felt like a card that wasn't that impactful as the rest. Kelbeck has an effect in the hand that allows it to return a card on the field, or a monster on the field, if your opponent sends a card from their hand to the or deck to the graveyard. So I seen this as a hand trap more than just a way to mill 5 cards off my deck. So I wanted to make sure to max out on this card specifically, as Agito has an effect that is more irrelevant. I feel it has a reborn effect when a monster is sent from your opponent's hand or deck to the graveyard, and it reborns an Ishizu from the grave. And I felt like a lot of the time the only card you could really target is Kelbeck, because Keldo and Medora have these graveyard effects that banish themselves in order to shuffle up to 3 cards in your opponent's grave or your grave into the deck. And I just felt like these cards were never really going to stick into the graveyard. So I felt like Agito was never really getting much value, and it just felt like a brick more than a card that I wanted to see. So I cut that down, and it pretty much allowed me to add non-engine to my deck. I played 6 non-engine in my deck compared to a lot of, like, I played 6 Bestials in my deck compared to a lot of other people. I felt like a lot of people were playing like 4 Bestials and that was it. But I wanted to prioritize like playing more Bestials because I feel like in a 40 card deck you want to have at least 12 to 15 hand traps. And with 6 Bestials, 3 Kelbeck, 3 Hafnis, uh, that pretty much allowed me to have like 12 ways to interact on my opponent's turn guaranteed. And then that's not including Orange Light, which could be another potential hand trap. And the way I made room for these non-engine cards were to cut down on some engine cards that I felt like weren't necessary at high numbers. And what I mean by that is like I cut down on the number of Scream in my deck. I felt like a lot more people were playing 2 to 3 Scream in their deck compared to me where I just played 1. The reason I played 1 is because it's searchable by kit. You could send it to the graveyard by Kaleido Heart. And I felt like that's just an easy way to access it. Like I felt like you don't need to access it any other way. Like using Planet to pop your Kaleido Heart in order to trigger Kaleido Heart, so you can send Scream from your deck to the graveyard, just seemed like the best way to get it to the grave. And I felt like I didn't need to play higher copies in order to do that because it's already like searchable with an engine. And for the Tearlaments lineup, I feel like a lot of people were playing 3 of each. I think that was more standard this weekend, like playing 3 Hafnis, 3 Merrily, 3 Sheeran. I took the I took the risk and I played 2 Merrily for the tournament, and I still play 2 Merrily now. I'm gonna show you guys my updated version. This is the version I played at the YCS. I played 2 Merrily for a lot of different reasons. First, like, this deck has an issue of just like opening duplicates, and I don't want to open duplicates of normal summons. As you can see, like all my normal summons are cut down to 2. Like I played 2 Diviner, 2 Rhino, 2 Merrily. Post side, I actually side out 1 of each of these. I'm gonna go over side patterns as well. Like I'm gonna go over side patterns and like my newest version of the list, so you guys can have an understanding of the deck. I feel that Merrily is a 2 of because if you see multiples in your hand, it's just gonna cost you games. Like, and in this format, like you can't lose games to opening. Like I feel like duplicates. I feel like your deck has to be as consistent as possible. And for me, I wanted to see like 5 different cards in my opening hand, or 6 different cards in my opening hand. You never really want to see duplicates unless the card is like good enough. I felt like Sheeran was a card like you wanted to see in multiples because like you want to see Sheeran every game. Like you want to mill it, you want to use the effect to pitch the other tiers at your hand. You want to use the effect to pitch the Kelbecks at your hand. But like Merrily in your hand, like you have to just normal summon it. It doesn't have any other use. So like I felt like it was fine at 2. Plus it's like a card that you never want to mill. Like you would rather mill Sheeran and Hafnis because you could always send Merrily from your deck to the graveyard with Sprint. And just having access to Merrily with Sprint, it's just guaranteed for you to fuse with it. So like there's no reason for you to like needing to mill it in the middle of your turn. You would rather just like want to mill like Sheeran or Hafnis because like this is the last name you want to trigger. And like getting Bestialed on Merrily early on will hurt you because like that will cut off your Sprint access. So it's not a card that you want to see. It's not a card that you need to mill. So like I felt like 2 of it was fine. You don't really need to play 3. But Sulliek, on the other hand, I felt like this card was a card that a lot of people played 1 of, but I decided to play 2 of it. And I felt like this is a big difference in a lot of lists, but I just don't like the aspect of shuffling back Sulliek into my deck once it's already hit the graveyard. Because like a lot of the time, if you don't end on Sulliek on your end board, like your board's kind of weak. And just having to shuffle it back with the shufflers, it just seems like neg one because like I'm losing an interruption to gain an interruption. So like when I'm using kit effect to search and I'm trying to search my Sullyk and I'm forced to shuffle back my Sullyk with like a Keldo or Medora, I just lost the shuffle back when I could have used that shuffle back on my opponent's turn. So I just took I took the opportunity just to play the two so I don't have to deal with the hassle of shuffling it back into the deck every single time I mill it. And also it's a card that you want to mill off the top of your deck because it searches you for extenders. Like it searches you for Sheeran, which is like a very good card in the deck. Like I feel like this is one of the best cards in the deck currently. So like milling this as an extender is a really good thing. And honestly like it makes like cards like Merly better because like if Merly doesn't like hit a name or mill a trap, like you're passing turn. Like so you kind of need to mill like a tier element off of your Merly that's not Scream. Because Scream will not advance your game state. I feel like Scream will just grab you a trap card and a lot of the time like you need extenders if you're starting your turn with normal summon Merly. So
Okay.
I think 2 Sullyk was correct. And in the 3-card combo hands, which I will show you guys, like it makes sense to play 2 Sullyk. Like I'll go over the hand where you open like Planet, Sheer, and Rhino, and I'll go over why it matters what like that you have the second Sullyk. For the extra deck, for the event, I felt like this extra deck was good, but I never made IP or Avermex, so like down the line I did switch these cards, which you guys will see. And then for the side deck, I felt like Super Poly just didn't do as much because Sprite was honestly just not as represented, and honestly like if I felt like it was a deck that I could beat without using Super Poly, and we'll get into that once I hop into this list. So this is my updated list. Not too many changes. The main deck is the same. I felt like my main deck was perfect for the event. Honestly, like the reason why there is no changes in my main is because like I did the math behind it. Like I said, 12 hand traps and 40. You will have like a 50% chance to see 2 of these hand traps, and I mean like that's good ratios in my opinion. Just like having a 50% chance to see like a Hofness in combination with a Magnuma, or a Hofness with a Kelbeck, or a Magnuma with a Kelbeck. I felt like that was good numbers, and then that's not even including Orange Light. And the games that you open Orange Light plus a Fairy, those are just bonus.
Okay.
Like those are just bonus games. I felt like Orange Light is like, of course, an insane card, and when it resolves, like it's super impactful, and it's game changing. Don't get me wrong. But, like I try to build my deck to where like I'm not just relying on opening the orange, and when I do open the Orange Light, it should be an auto win. So, yeah, that's like the whole explanation on like why I played 6 Bestials, why why it's important to have non-engine in your deck, because I felt like I was the only one in the tournament that had high numbers of non-engine in their deck. So like it gave me an edge in the mirror because like I was more than likely able to stop my opponent, and my opponent was more than likely not able to stop me because they didn't play enough non-engine. And like the only like list that compared and played like high numbers of non-engine in their deck were actually like Walter, Jules, and Jesse Cotton, and they both made it pretty far in the tournament. Jesse made the finals, and Walter made top 8. And as you can see, like Walter played like 9 in his deck, and Jesse played about the same ratio as I did. I think he didn't play Diviner, but he did play Orange Light and the Bestial, so he did play like like the same amount of non-engine as I did.
I have a question. One thing I noticed is that you pretty much only have one spell trap removal. Like in your whole deck list, were you not worried about like back row, floodgates, and Mystic Mine?
So going into the event, I just expected a lot of tier element mirrors, and I felt like this deck just deals with back row like really well because there's no real good floodgate that hurts this deck. Like Rivalry, you could just play under Aquas, and like if you could play under Aquas, you could just summon Kit and Rukalos, Then if you have planet up, like you could just use the planet effect to destroy like any floodgates or face downs. So I felt like planet was like the way to out removal like back row, and planet plus having like a shuffler in the grave also outs back row because you could use the shufflers to shuffle back like tier element monsters in the graveyard in order to trigger your planet to pop card on your opponent's side of the field. So like I felt like I didn't need that much removal, and I understood that mine might be an issue in the tournament, but I didn't know how heavily people were going to main deck mine. So I just decided to side deck the heartbeat for that reason, because like when going first, I could just side in like the heartbeat. Like mine is not really an issue going second. It's only really an issue going first because like you would put up your board, then they'll try to crack it and mine you. But I felt like it was still really hard to crack my field because at the end of my boards, usually I was ending on crime plus like a planet, and I probably have a shuffler in my grave, or I could end on crime plus Baron, and like that's still very hard to out. Like I felt like there was just like it was hard to stick Mystic Mine on the field in the beginning, and if it did ever happen, like it's fine. Like I would be prepared for it post side deck. And also, like, I just don't think that Mystic Mine is a very great card in this format. Like, it's the same reason, like, it's the same logic as, like, playing Mystic Mine in a format with Sprite. Like, everyone's playing Smashers in their deck, right? So, like, you wouldn't want to play, like, Mystic Mine in a format where everyone's playing Smashers in their deck, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's the same in this format because, like, if you're, like, you don't want to play Mystic Mine if everyone's playing Triple Planet in their deck. Because, like, Planet plus a Shuffler beats Mine on its own. So, like, if you're gonna play Mystic Mine, it's kind of just like a risk. Like, sometimes it will resolve, but like, there's sometimes it just won't resolve. The
Okay.
thing is with Mystic Mine, when it does resolve, it could be game ending. So like, I understood why some people played it, but like, I just felt like if you let your opponent full combo you and you let them establish a board, like more than likely you're just gonna lose the duel. Like, I don't think like you have a high chance of winning that duel, even if you opened a singular copy of Mystic Mine. It would have to be multiple board breakers in order to crack it. Like I'm talking about maybe three. Like two won't even do it. So like like pretty much like three board breakers in order to even successfully resolve the Mystic Mine.
Okay. Got it.
For the side, I made like a slight difference. Like I said, I cut the super polys. I added more bestials and more copies of talents. And the reason why I did that is because I felt like in the mirror I wanted to have 9 bestials in my deck compared to just having 6. Like I felt like 6 was good, and I sided the seventh during the event. But like during the event, I just realized like these cards are so broken that I just want to max out on all of them. So I took the chance to just like I took the opportunity just to put the extra 3 in my deck, just so I could, or the extra 2 in my deck, just so I can see them in the mirror. And I'll go over side patterns because everything in my side deck is put in for a reason, and I think like going over side patterns before going into an event is mad important. And I hope this like could show people like how to like properly side deck. So I'm gonna get into that in a sec. Last thing I want to go over is my extra deck because I did make a few changes. I added Wallow to my deck.
Hell yeah! I love that card. I think it's so good.
Yeah, I think this card is really good, especially if there's a lot of mirrors running around, because this card can gain 100 attack and defense for each card in my opponent's graveyard. So this pretty much could make my board like gain a lot of attack and a lot of stats for no reason in the mirror.
All monsters, not just that monster.
Yeah, all monsters. So like it pretty much boosts your whole entire board. And the effect on this card is really good. Just like the effect to shuffle a card in the grave into the deck, or the effect to take a monster from your opponent's grave and put it on your field, or even like taking spell cards out your opponent's grave and putting it in your field. Like I was setting instant, like I want to set instant fusion in the mirror if my opponent mills it. I want to set planet. I want to set terraforming if my opponent has it in their graveyard. I feel like those are all good things you could take out your opponent's graveyard, and it could come up when you have like 2 bestials, but like no way to play. So like I felt like this was a good way to like get you playing, and sometimes might be a better way to get you playing rather than like going into Beatrice. And another cool thing about this is if your opponent uses like a monster effect and like they have a triple tactical talents in the graveyard, you could take that talents and use it on them. So like I felt like that was like another cool aspect of the cards. Like this card has like a lot of cool aspects to it, so I'm giving it a try. and it also helps me out Avermax. And the way you out Avermax with this card is you could boost a normal summon monster on the field. So let's say you have this card on the field, and your opponent has like a few cards in their graveyard. Like these monsters, like Sharon or Rhinoheart under Palorino could attack over an Avermax. And Avermax only triggers when it attacks special summon monsters and not normal summon monsters. So Wallow could be an out to Avermax.
Oh, okay.
And then I played Zeus because like I felt like Zeus in the mirror might be good because like Dweller in combination with Zeus could just clear the whole field and your opponent can't trigger anything. So like this just comes up in like some scenarios. So like I was messing around with it and it seems pretty good.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Right.
I will be right back. I have to use the bathroom, but you can keep talking.
Right, absolutely. So I'm gonna go over side patterns because I know like a lot of people are wondering like how I side decked and prepared for the event post side. Like side decking in this deck is honestly pretty simple. Like I usually took out the same cards every time, just depending on matchups. In the mirror, like you kind of want to cut down on the spells and traps going second, and you want to cut down on the amount of normal summons going second. And the reason why is because like these cards aren't as useful. Like in the mirror, like the trap cards and the spell cards in the deck are really just for when going first. Like you don't really need these cards in your deck. Like going second, you could just search Sulliek, and that's like enough when cracking a field. So I felt like just keeping one Sulliek in and taking out the rest of the spells and the rest of the tier spells and traps was just like the correct thing to do. And then like cutting down on the normal summons just makes sense because like you don't want to like clog on normal summons in this deck. Like that's like the games that you'll lose, like the games that you open too many spells and traps and too many normal summons. So just cutting them down I felt like was fine. And then the last card I cut out my deck was Agido. I just felt like Agido just like isn't the greatest in the mirror. Just like milling 5 off your opponent's deck is just never really like the wave. So I just think it's a good card to cut for that reason. And then the cards that I put in the mirror would be 3 Talents and 3 Bystials. I was siding in Gamma during the main event at Pasadena, but I ended up like not doing it moving forward because I just felt like there was more impactful cards in the mirror. But as you guys can see, I still do side deck Gamma, and the reason I side deck Gamma is because it beats every matchup that's not the mirror match. And I felt like my deck is already so oriented towards the mirror that like I needed to work on like every other matchup after the mirror. So I prioritized like the mirror match in the main, and then like in the side I prioritized every other matchup. And post side you'll literally have 9 Bystials plus 3 Hofness plus 3 Kelbeck plus 3 Tactics. That's literally 18 non-engine slots, and then that's not even including orange. So like you're pretty much having 21, like you're having 21 non-engine slots in a 40 card deck post side in the mirror. And I just think that's like huge. That's a huge advantage in the mirror because like more than likely your opponent's probably not going to be able to play. Like, you're more than likely going to be able to interact with your opponent on their turn and stop them. All right, so for the other matchups like Plunder or even Sprite, this is how I would side deck. So Plunder, the Bystials aren't really the greatest because like obviously they are not playing Lights and Darks, they're just playing Winds. So you would side in 3 Gamma, Driver, and Droplets. And then you could take out a singular Sulliek. And that's what I would side deck going into Flunder. Gamma is just an impactful card. Gamma on Rabina will usually end their turn. And if they open map, they can chain block the Rabina, which is fine. You just need to Gamma the Eaglin because they would go Rabina chain like 1, and then Eaglin Chainlink 2 and the banish to add itself back, and then the moment they normal summon Eaglin and declare the effect, you can Gamma that. So Gamma usually just ended the Flunder player's turn, guaranteed. And it's also a card that you could just like stop Shifter with. So I felt like stopping Shifter with this card could also be relevant. So I felt like Gamma all around against that matchup was insane. And then Droplets was another really good card going into Flunder because I was scared that I would get barrier statues locked and I would lose the duel. And as long as you could stop the statue, I feel like you're winning the duel, because like as long as you could just like mill cards off your deck and like you could start playing, like you could usually just outpace every other deck in the format. So just being able to stop the statue, I felt like was enough.
I'm back, by the way.
And that's the reason why I played Droplets.
Okay.
Right. I'm about to go into how I side deck against Sprite. I'm about to just go over how I side decked going first against Flunderies, because I felt like a lot of people weren't doing this, and I think it's mad important. So,
okay.
Post side deck against the Flunder deck going first, I think it's correct to put in Call by the Grave Gammas and Heartbeat, and this is a little different. Gamma going first is obviously a brick, but against the Flunder deck, they don't really play hand traps in their deck other than Dimensional Shifter. And Dimensional Shifter usually has to come down when you use Sheeran's effect in hand, the special, because they're not going to let you mill the top 3 cards of your deck. That's just something that your opponent's not going to let you do. They're not going to let you mill the top 3 cards of your deck. So the moment you declare Sheeran to special, your opponent will more than likely drop Shifter down, and then that gives you an opportunity to Gamma them, or Call by the Grave them, or even Orange like them. So like I have 7 outs to Shifter going first, and I felt like that was just an advantage. Like I felt like a lot of people were just like auto losing to Shifter, where if I got Shiftered, I would either have an Orange Light to counteract it, or I would have a Gamma to counteract it, or a Call by the Grave to interact with it. And if I didn't have any of those, worst case scenario, I'll make Babushka. Like I'll turn the Sheeran, I'll normal summon a Madoro, or I'll normal summon a Kelbeck, and I'll overlay the 2 monsters, and I'll make Babushka. So like I had a lot of different outs to Shifter going into this event. So like I was pretty confident going against Flunder during the tournament. I didn't feel like I was at a disadvantage by any means. I was playing 40 cards with a lot of outs to Shifter and a lot of ways to counteract with it. So I think Gamma for that matchup was really good. And I'm honestly happy that I played the card.
Makes sense.
Now going into the Sprite matchup. Sprite matchup is pretty similar to the Flunder matchup. It's actually quite funny that how similar decks are. The Bystials kind of just suck against that matchup. The deck does play dark monsters, but the issue is the deck always has. Like the deck always has a way to make Gigantic before needing to reborn those dark monsters out their grave. So like a lot of the times the Bystials are just dead cards. So I was just siding out all the Bystials. I was putting in Gamma Driver, and I was siding out 1 Sulliek, and I was putting in triple Tactical Talents. So Gamma Talents going into that matchup. You could put in Call by the Grave if you'd like. You could cut a Crime and then put in the Call by the Grave if you like, if you want to have more cards into that matchup. But honestly, like I just rather played the Trap, because I felt like the Sprite matchup was just like one of the easier matchups for this deck, because like a lot of the times like a handful of Engine could crack a Sprite board, and Talents just made it easier for me to crack a Sprite board, so that's why I played it. And Gamma, same thing. Like the thing is with Gamma, it could have been a card that I drew as my 5th, and I could use on their turn. Like let's say they summon Beaver, I could Gamma that, or if they summon Gigantic, I could Gamma that, or if they starter into blue, I can Gamma that, or if they just special blue, I could Gamma it, right? But the thing about Gamma is you could draw it as your sixth card, and like drawing it as your sixth card in that matchup is very important because if you activate cards like Planet or if you activate cards like Sheeran, like a lot of the time your opponent will be reacting with like Toad, and when they do use Toad, you could always drop down Gamma. So like I felt like that was really good. It was just a card that I could draw as my sixth or as my fifth. So Gamma in that matchup was just like really strong. And honestly, Gamma against every other matchup that isn't even in these three decks that I named, because like obviously like there are other decks in the game that you could just verse randomly, and Gamma just covered those matchups, right? Like if you versed Exo Sister and your opponent uses Martha, you could always Gamma there. Uh, if you're versing like any like rogue deck, I felt like Gamma just came in clutch. So uh, Gamma 100% card that should be played in the side. Um, and that's it. I felt like that covers like all the real main matchups. Like there's really like three decks in the format right now. Like, and honestly, like the two Flunder and Sprite are very low represented in numbers right now because Tearlaments obviously dominating the game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's it for like covering every matchup in this current meta. Like you're not gonna really verse other decks, and if you do verse other decks, like it's fine. Like you should be able to cover it with your side deck. Like Droplets, Tactics, Gamma are all very generic cards that you can side in for certain matchups. So
Okay.
that's it for side patterns. And I said I'd go over a few hands, like mainly being like Planet plus like two tier names. I'm gonna show you like why I think it doesn't really make a difference if you play like 2 to 3 Scream. So you go Planet searches Rhino. I can give an explanation of like why you have to start with X name. Okay, so when I go Sheeran, okay, and I discard Hofness, there's a reason why you would rather discard Hofness than like rather discard like a Sheeran or a Merly. Okay, Hofness usually needs to be the first name you trigger first, because if you use Sheeran here and like you get cherried, you're kind of forced to make Kaleido Heart and like not, and you cannot really like play. But like if you get cherried here when you go Hofness, you could at least make Garua still, which is like I feel like is a big difference, because like being able to make Garua can give you lines into Beatrice. So starting with Hofness when pitching Sheeran first is definitely correct for that reason, because it plays around cherries. And the reason it's not Merly is because Merly is always accessible by Sprint. So that's why you have to discard Hofness first. So usually when you're triggering names, it should be Hofness first, Sheeran second, Merly last. Like that's like bottom line. Like and it took me forever to realize that. Like the fusions, like it matters which order you do them in. So Hofness should be first, Merly should more than likely be last, and Sheeran should be second. And also, if you play Redoer, it's another reason why Sheeran should be second compared to Hofness. So Hofness pitch Sheeran here. It doesn't really matter which 3 mills you mill. I'm just gonna act like I didn't mill anything good. We put back the Hofness, you put back the Sheeran, you summon Kit, and then Kit is usually searching Crime when I have Palorino plus Rhino. And the reason why you search Crime is because it's a 1-of in the deck when Sullik is a 3-of. And when you mill 5 off a Kit, you want to mill either your 2 Sullieks or your 1 Scream. And the reason why you want to mill the Sulliek or the Scream off your 5 mills is because whenever you go Palorino, pop your Kaleido Heart will get the missing piece. So right here, I'm going to go Kit. tribute itself, summon Rhino, and I'm gonna use Rhino as chain link 1 and Kit as chain link 2. Okay. I'll mill 5 cards. And then now Rhino Heart will send any name that I haven't used, more than likely Merly or Sheeran since I haven't used them. So right now it sends Sheeran. And then I would put back the Sheeran, the Kit, and then the Rhino. And then that will summon Kaleido Heart. And then Palorino will pop Kaleido Heart. And then Kaleido Heart will trigger its effect to send Scream from your deck to the grave. To summon itself back. And then Scream will search the missing trap. And then like now you have access to both traps. And if you milled Scream off of your mill 5 or Kit off of your mill 5 or Sulliek off of your mill 5, you would just have an additional no monster in hand. So like let's say if you milled Scream off of your Kit mill 5, then Kaleido Heart would have just sent Sulliek, and then Sulliek would have added you a monster. And it could just be vice versa. So like every time you do that play, like you're more than likely gonna be able to end on 2 traps in your hand, and then like 2 traps in your hand guaranteed. And then like sometimes you could end on like a monster, just depending on what your mill is. And like there's a million ways to play like every hand, but like I feel like the main thing about playing each hand is like guaranteeing to not let Hafnis resolve. So like just playing around Hafnis is like I feel like is a huge thing in this game right now, and like that's like another reason why I played Diviner. So like let's say in this hand, right, I open Diviner and Sheeran and Terraforming. It's always correct to just start your play by just like normal summon Diviner and then pitching like a Medora or a Keldo. It doesn't matter which one of these 2 that you send, as long as you send one of them. But if you do have like a Keldo in your hand, you would more than likely send Medora, and if you have Medora in your hand, you would more than likely send Keldo. But you always want to start your turn by like summoning Diviner to send a way to stop Hafnis, and then like after that you would probably like play out your turn. So like after that I would go Terraforming, then I would go Planet, and then I would use Planet to search for Rhino Heart here in this hand. The reason why I'm gonna search for Rhino Heart here is because I already have a way to play with Sheeran. Sheeran will pitch Sheeran, I'll mill 3 cards. I milled Hafnis, so I'm just gonna trigger Hafnis. I'm gonna trigger Hafnis. In this scenario, it's correct to trigger Hafnis. I think it's correct to trigger Hafnis, Sheeran, and Sulliek. And like in this game state, the reason why you would want to use 2 names instead of rather just using 1 is because like playing around Bystials is very important. And I just think like if you have like any opportunity you have to play around a Bystial, you probably should just take it, right? Like there's no reason not to like play around it if you can, because like getting Bystialed here could have hurt me. And worst case scenario, you could always just shuffle the same 2 names back to cancel out the fusion, so you don't have to fusion twice. Like a lot of the times you could just like fusion once and then like chain block to make sure you get the fusion. Like you could trigger 2 fusions and put one of the other fusions that you triggered back to the bottom with the other name, so you can cancel out that fusion and just fusion one time. But that's fine as long as you're playing around the Bystial. So right here I would grab Crime. It's like kind of like the same line as before, but the difference is like I have a way to make Baron. So I put up Baron here. One sec, let me mute my Discord. Okay, so I make Baron here, and the reason why you want to make Baron here is because you played around Bystials already. So making the Baron here will pretty much guarantee that you don't get Bystialed now. And then you could just trigger Kit, summon Rhino, trigger Rhino as Chinlink 1. Same play as earlier. Trigger Kit as Chinlink 2. And then at this point, The only name I didn't use this turn was Merly, and I already milled Merly. So I'm just gonna send any name and then fuse with the Merly, the Kit, and then the Rhino Heart to make Kaleido Heart. And then I'll use my planet to pop my Kaleido Heart to then summon my Kaleido Heart. And then Kaleido Heart will send Scream, and then Scream will get me the last trap. And then like, this is how I would end my turn if I played this game out.
Did you ever make Rule Kalos?
I made Rukalos a few times in the tournament, not too many times. I felt like I tried to play around making Rukalos because like Dweller Rukalos just plays into Super Poly, and in this game I could have definitely made Rukalos if I didn't trigger the first two names in the beginning of the turn. But if you're trying to play around hand traps, like sometimes you have to give up some things, and in this game, like I triggered my 2 fusions in the early game just so I can play around a Bestial, and I feel like sometimes like you would rather like guaranteed play than guaranteed like lose to 1 interruption. So like I traded that Rukalos that I could have had on my board for like playing around a card pretty much. It's actually crazy. Like I traded an interruption to play around a card, and it makes sense because like if I got Bestialed in that scenario, like I would have just ended on Baron compared to just ending on Baron double trap with a Kaleido Heart up. So like it was worth for me playing around that Bestial because I played around that Bestial and still put up a big board rather than like playing into the Bestial and putting up a mediocre board.
That's fair.
But like Rukalos will come up in games where you're triggering all 3 fusions, but like for me, like I was trying to like prioritize playing around Bestials, and I feel like right now, like a lot of people need to prioritize playing around Bestials because after the last event, like everyone was playing like a ton of Bestials. Like I feel like now, like I can't imagine how many people are playing Bestials at high numbers because I played 6 in my deck, Jesse played 6 in his deck, and Walter played 9 in his deck. So like I feel like a lot of people are going to take influence from our deck choices, and they're probably going to be playing a lot of Bestials, so now it's adjusting and playing around the Bestials. And I feel like Diviner helps that a lot, because Diviner just gives you ways to make Baron, and like Baron is just another way to stop Bestials early on. And the cool thing about Diviner is like, it's the way to stop Hofness, and it's the way to beat Bestials. So like, I feel like that's why like Diviner is a really good card. It's because like starting Diviner to Foolish Burial for like any one of the shuffle backs will just put you ahead in the mirror right off the rip, and then like making Baron afterwards will just make sure that like every play afterwards is gonna resolve.
Makes sense.
So that's pretty much Tearlaments 101 for me. That's the rundown on how you side deck. I gave you guys a few hands, test hands. I do coach on Metafy if some of you guys are interested and you guys do want to learn more about the deck. There's actually just tons of different lines you could take with this deck, and it's hard to learn every single scenario. But I do try my best to break down combos, break down 2 to 3 card hands, because like there are multiple hands you could open in the deck, and like knowing how to play each hand out perfectly is a hard thing to do, and I understand that, and I try to make it easier for people to understand like the 2 to 3 card combo hands, and that's what I'm showing on my Metafy. So if you guys are interested in that, you guys could hit me up, and we could set up a session. So
yes, I highly recommend Hani as a coach for sure. Do you have some time to answer some questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so can you give us a rundown of the mirror? Like, you know, how we should approach it, what kind of board we should set up, what kind of things we need to think about?
Yeah, like in the mirror, like I said, for that matchup, I feel like you just kind of want to prioritize like making sure your opponent doesn't trigger Hofness. So whenever you open cards like Diviner, like this has to be your starting play, and like And I mean this has to be your starting play. Like if you open a 5-card hand, no matter what, as long as Diviner's in it, your starting play should more than likely be normal summon Diviner first action. And the
Okay.
reason why it has to be first action is because if you do normal summon Diviner later on in the turn, it opens opportunities for your opponent to use Kelbeck, and you could just like lose a monster on your board for free for no reason. So like you actually always have to start your turn normal summon Diviner. And if you don't have a way to play, of course you have to send like a mill 5 card. More than likely you have to send a Guido, because a Guido has the opportunity to mill Kelbeck. So if you have to play with mill like 5/10, it's gonna be normal summon Diviner, send a Guido. But if you don't need a play like that, you want to send Keldo or Medora, and the reason is because like that plays around Hofness.
Okay.
So
Would you play 3 Diviner?
um no, I wouldn't play 3, and the reason is it's honestly the same logic with Merly. It's not a card that you want to open in multiples. Like like prioritizing like low numbers of normal summons, I feel like is very important in the deck. So I think I would stick to 2. It's a card you want to mill. It's a card you do want to see. Don't get me wrong, but like you don't want to see like multiples of normal summons. And
Okay.
I know the math isn't that different if you add 1 copy of Diviner, because everyone's gonna say, oh well, the math isn't that different if you add 1 copy of Diviner. But the math is definitely different if you have 1 copy of Diviner and 4 other normal summons in your deck. Like 7 normal summons, the math definitely does change. So
Okay.
I think 2 is correct. 100%.
Okay. Do you avoid milling the opponent blind, or
Yes.
do you just
Yes.
go for it?
100%. I never mill my opponent's deck blind unless I absolutely have to. If I have a way to play and I'm already playing, like I'm not gonna mill my opponent's deck blind.
Okay.
And in the mirror, if you have to mill 5 off your deck, prioritize putting a shuffle back in the graveyard first.
Okay.
Or prioritize making Dweller first. Like there's some games where you can make Dweller first before milling 5. And yeah, like sometimes like that's just game in the mirror.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, someone told me that Jesse always mills. I don't know if that's true, but
I
I
don't
just
know if
want to
that's
get your
true
thoughts.
either. I don't know if that's true either. I would be surprised if that's true. I would not give my opponent the opportunity to play. Like if you could just resolve your full combo, you should be winning the duel. So like there's no reason to mill cards off your opponent's deck, have them interact with you. Because if they're interacting on your turn, you're forced to stop them. So now you're using cards on your turn to stop them. And then by the time it's their turn now, like you already used half your interruptions on your turn. Like that's just not
Okay.
something that you want to do. So like I'm not trying to mill cards off my opponent's deck for that reason. And unfortunately, I was put in a predicament where I had to mill cards off of Jesse's deck in the finals because I opened Diviner, no other play. I Diviner sent a Guido, and then like we both like ended up milling 10. And honestly, the mill 10 games are gonna come down to straight technical play. Like if you mill 15 off your deck and your opponent mills 15 off their deck, it's gonna come down to straight technical play. Like it's gonna be a game where whoever messes up is gonna lose the duel. So that's how that matchup usually works. And like honestly, like it's just a risky matchup if you're doing that. Like if you're milling 5 cards off your opponent's deck, because like there is still variance. Your opponent could just mill better than you. Like that still exists. So not something that like I would recommend. And if you were gonna mill 5, like I said one more time, like you need to have shufflers, or you need to have Bistials. And another thing to mention, setting up shufflers in the grave early on is important. Play around Hofness, but if you have a Bistial in your hand, you don't need to set up shufflers early on to play around Hofness, because the Bistials beat Hofness anyways. So that's something that that y'all should be aware of. So like if you have like a Bistial, like this beats Hofness already. So I felt like that's why the Bistials were really good, because like they were kind of like a card that could counteract with Hofness. So And Magnemite was the better one because Magnemite trades Hofness so well because you stop their Hofness and you get to search Abyssal on your end phase now as well. And this is a level 6 body. So like a level 6 body can mean a lot of different things for this deck. That means you can make Beatrice with it, you can make Wallow with it. And like there are game states where you could even Reborn Diviner, and then Diviner can send like an orange light from your deck to the grave, and then you can make Baron with it. So like there's a lot of different things you can do.
Oh, okay. I like it.
So I think that's really important going into the mirror. Another thing I think you guys need to prioritize in the mirror is obviously making Dweller. Dweller in the mirror is very strong, but like you also got to recognize when Dweller is correct to be made. Like there's some game states where Dweller isn't the correct line, and that's usually like when you get like when there's like Bystials on the board. Like sometimes like making Dweller like when your opponent already has a live established Bystial could just be -3 or -2, right? Because like you turn 2 monsters into Dweller, you might have stopped them from return, but like if they can like crack your board and like crack your body presence on the board and establish their own Dweller, then like it's kind of scary. So
Okay.
you need to honestly it comes down to like playing a lot. I feel like you'll know these scenarios the more you play. Like the main thing that like you're gonna need to know like is how to start your turn 1 properly and how to play going first properly. And I feel like that's where everyone needs to strive at, is like knowing how to like play their deck perfectly, one going first, and then like going second it's honestly like trade like see like how can you get your opponent to trade 1 for 1 with you is literally like the best way to put it. Like you'll open your hand, you'll know what your opponent wants to stop, and like you'll know what interruptions your opponent has on field, and you got to just think about which cards do you want them to stop and which card do you want to resolve. Like I usually look at my hand and be like, okay, I want to make sure that this card resolves, so I'm gonna do everything before this last and final play, and if this last and final play resolved, like that's gonna get me into the game.
Okay, I like it.
And then another edge in the mirror, I would say is just, I would just say it's like deck building. I feel like my edge in the mirror during the tournament was like playing 6 Bystials in the main, and honestly, I don't know like if that's gonna be enough now, because like I feel like now everyone's decks are getting very similar. So like right now it's honestly technical play. So the best way you can pretty much like beat the mirror is just testing it and playing it, and like that's what a tier 0 format is in my opinion. It's just playing and learning the mirror to your best of ability, and then like just being prepared for it. So just knowing the matchup better than your opponent. Like knowing the matchup better than your opponent will literally win you the duel.
Okay. Do you wanna do like a test mirror match for the viewers?
Yeah, I'll definitely play one match.
Okay, can you send me your list?
Yeah, 100%.
Also, I started playing Dueling Book last night. Because I remember you like talking about how it's really important, and like finding testing partners was like really difficult. So I'm doing the Dueling Book grind.
Yeah, it's honestly worth playing Dueling Book. I think that's how you get ahead in this game. Like when I tested for this event, I just played Dueling Book, and the thing is, like Dueling Book didn't have rated for this set. So like
Yeah.
when it came out, so like I had to go into the chat and put post mama and play. I played with literally anyone. Like I don't care if it's a known person or if it's just a regular person. I don't care. It doesn't matter as long as you're dueling, and as long as you're understanding, and as long as you're playing matches. I think that's all that matters.
Okay, let me save this. Yeah, because I just didn't do tier for the YCS because I didn't think I could learn it in time. Because I can't learn something in a week. That's just, I don't have that kind of power.
Yeah,
But now
I
it's time.
understand that. I think it was wild the way they set this all up, though, right? Like, I mean, like it was three different formats in the matter of 3 different weeks. So I mean, it was
Yeah.
very difficult for a lot of people to adjust and get ready for the format, and I felt like that was an issue for a lot of duelists. It was definitely an issue for me. I had to play 3 different tournaments, 3 different formats, and I had a week to figure it out every single deck that I played. And I just feel like I got like lucky in some scenarios for the decks that I played. Like it was hard to come to the conclusions that I came to.
Are you what a format?
Yeah, I am what a format.
Okay. Okay. Bye bye, Stickendo. Thanks for stopping by. After this, we're gonna do some giveaways. Yeah, so I was working on this. I was using your old list last night. But I didn't play against any tier. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I think this is the triple back one.
Yep. Yep, Sheeran's good.
Mill 3. Okay. So I'll use Harmless and Scream.
Thinking. Softness scream. I'm gonna target Hoffness.
Thinking. That's annoying.
I mean, in this play, like, you have a Baron line. If you have any Bestial in your hand, you also have, like, a Beatrice line.
Yeah, I have Bestial.
Actually, it depends what Bestial you have, because if it's Druid Worm, it's even a little bit better, because you could Druid Worm send my Magnemite when you make Dark, and then you could take my Magnemite, and then trigger my Magnemite, and then make Beatrice, so...
Okay, I shall allow it.
So, I banish Hoffness, you search for Sulliek, because it's your only target. And it just depends on which Bestial you have in your hand at this point. Like, these are lines that, these are lines that are hard to see, that are really good, though. Like, right now, if you summon, like, yes, you see, like, you could have had Magnemite or Druid Worm, and it did the same thing, because I had Magnemite. But, like, the difference is, I think Druid Worm's a little bit better here, because you get to send my monster to the grave. So you summon Dark, yep. Send my Magnemite. And then you reborn my Magnemite with Dark. Yep. And then you trigger Magnemite effect. So now you get to search a Bestial on the end phase, and then you turn your 2 monsters into Beatrice. And then you go Beatrice effect.
Oh.
And then Beatrice will send Hoffness, and then Hoffness will trigger to shuffle back the Sheeran and the other card.
Okay. I didn't see that line at all. I was like, I don't know what to do.
And then right here, you want to summon Kit, and then Kit will grab Rhinoheart. And then what I would do in the mirror match is I would go effective Kit, destroy my Dark, summon Rhinoheart.
Oh, okay.
And then this way I can make Dweller, because then Rhinoheart can send the last name, and then I could turn that last name and then the Dark into Dweller.
Oh.
And then I still have my Sulliek live, because my Sulliek can send my Kit, and then you can still have Beatrice up too. So like, I mean, like the thing is like that's the thing. Like people, half the people in the room weren't doing this.
That's
And like
nuts.
the only reason you were able and capable of doing that is because you started your turn with Diviner. And then I search Abyssial on the end phase, and then you search Abyssial on the end phase. So like, and you still have a shuffle back in the grave. So I mean, that's good. It's just Druid Worm. 100% should always be Druid Worm.
Okay.
Because that one just applies pressure because like the send effect.
Okay. Yanks Nation says, Hani Deadass just made me see so many different lines in one turn. He's nasty.
That was different because a lot of people won't use kit to pop their own dark. People don't understand how good Rhino Heart is right now. That's like another thing. Like Rhino Heart was crazy for me this weekend because the ability to make Dweller that card so frequently is just not even real. So. And then on the draw phase, you always want to detach your Rhino Heart in order to trigger Dweller because now if you detach Rhino Heart and you pop kit off of your Sulliek, you have a chance to summon
Kaleido.
you have Kaleido Heart. Yeah, so that's
Oh.
the reason why you want to detach that. And depending on like a match, if you think like this is a matchup where Mud Dragon might be better to make Stepelia, then you can. But like if majority of the time, it's just Rhino Heart.
Nice.
I think.
Mr. Brooklyn NCG says, I need that coaching session. These plays sold it to me. Yes, everyone get coaching from Hani.
Yeah, this is like this board is just like too good to beat. Like that's this is like the field that you kind of want to always put up because right now like all I can do is like I can try to crack this board, but like there's just no way I can play through like you're guaranteeing mill 5 on like this turn if I summon a monster, and then like the issue is like now that I'm under Dweller, like a mill 5 for you could just be a mill 10 because now if you mill like a Calbeck or a Guido, you could use those cards with like kind of no repercussions. You could just use whatever the hell you want, and like I'm just cooked.
Oh,
And, like
okay.
that's why that's why this line is crazy, and also like you have Beatrice to guarantee send another fusion, so like you're gonna at least fusion like 3 more times on me in this singular turn. So like, and I'm not playing at all. Like I can't fusion at all. So like that's why like knowing how to make your turn 1 boards matter because like a lot of the people would have just folded to the Bestial right there. They would have been like, oh, it's Bestial's game. Especially Magnamut because Magnamut was searching me 1 on the end phase, but like knowing how to use Druid Worm to send your opponent's Magnamut to then reborn it off the dark is also just a really good line.
Wait, do I take out the Kelbecks? No, right?
So for side decking in the mirror, you should be taking out 1 Diviner, 1 Rhino Heart, and you should be taking out Scream, Sulliek, 1 Sulliek, and then one Crime.
Okay, for talents?
And then for talents, yep. And then you would have at this point you should have 3 talents and the rest of the Bestials in your deck.
Okay. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm gonna put it on YouTube if that's okay with you.
Yeah. No problem. Alright, okay.
Oh my god.
I open insanely strong this game.
I opened 3 Ishizus.
That's not ideal.
It's okay.
I think I go Sheeran. Okay. I'm thinking probably correct to play around a Bisteel. A Chinlink 1, Chinlink 2, Chinlink 3, Mill 3.
Sure.
Did I summon Sheeran, right? So Chinlink 1. Yeah, Chinlink 1, Chinlink 2, Chinlink 3. So yeah, that's good. So this into Garua. Into Kit. And then I don't even know if that's correct. Hold on, let me think. Yeah, if I do, I mean, I don't think this line, maybe this line wasn't correct. Because if I mean, if you have Calbeck, you should use it here. Because, like, there's no other opportunity for you to Calbeck. Because on the resolution of that chain, you could Calbeck me. Well, Kit's going to be Chinlink 1. And then Scream is going to be Chinlink. I mean,
Wait,
Plan
how
is going
does
to be
this
Chinlink
card
2
work?
targets.
Do I summon it?
Yeah, I think you do here. Okay, so I used Merly as Chainlink 1, Hofness as Chainlink 2, and Scream as Chainlink 3. So I milled 3 cards, then I fused, and then on resolution you could do Kelbeck. So I went Kit 1, Planet 2, pop my Scream. And then you could go Kelbeck Chainlink 3.
And
There,
then
I
bounce
mean,
this?
yeah, like, I feel like there's no reason not to bounce Kit here. I feel like that's optimal. Send that here, but like, yeah, like, regardless. I don't know, I felt like regardless, like there's no real way to stop me from actually like playing a turnout because I get to both traps regardless.
That's kind of nuts. This card is insane.
Oh, Calbeck?
Yeah.
Yeah, Calbeck is insane, 100%. Um. I have to search crime.
What does Hani think about the math for orange lights? So how many fairies do you need to play with orange light to make it consistent?
I think you need to play at least. I think I'm playing like 14. I think 14 is the like I cut 2 Agito and made sure I played 2 Diviner because I wanted to have at least 14. I think 14 is like the perfect number. Anything less than that, it could just get really inconsistent. I think Walter played like 7 no orange. I don't know. I don't know what. I need to do more math on the orange light, but like I feel like the math on the cards right now are pretty good because I feel like the ratios on all of them are good. Unless you're like, I don't know if I'm still not about 3 Agito. I know a lot of people are about playing 3 Agito, but I'm just not about that life.
Walter didn't play any Agito.
Yeah, I think I seen he played 0. That made sense though because he didn't play any orange light at all. Just gonna draw 2. Okay. This is interesting. I haven't used one name. I think it was.
Wait, how'd you make Kit?
I made Kit with Hofness.
And
I think it was with
Gura.
Hofness and Merle, or Hofness and Merle, and then like the other one was with no, it was Hofness. It was Hofness and Merle to make Garua, and it was Hofness and Sheeran to make Kit Kalos. So I have Sheeran.
Okay.
I have one fusion left. Two options here. Yeah, I think I'm just making. I'm not making Baron. I think I'm just making Dweller. And then I'm keeping the tier on the field so I can have my traps live.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes like Diviner has different uses. I drew it there and I was like, I'm not gonna even make Baron with it. Like I'd rather just end on Dweller in the mirror. Sometimes you just gotta prioritize that instead. And then yeah, I feel like this is just a hard board to beat, right? Because I have both traps plus Dweller plus Beatrice, but like the consistency of my deck doing this is like, yeah, it just happens too often.
Yeah, this is my hand.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my hand was just like this last game too. Like, it's just too hard to play through a board like this. Like, the only way you're playing through this board is if you open, like, enough non-engine to stop it, right? So, like, that's, like, the reason why I played Infinite non-engine. Just hoping that's, like, the way to win.
Okay, so going first now.
You have to put in triple tactical talents at 3.
Okay. So I take out the Guido.
No, I take out going first. I take out a Guido, one Searnier, and then one Druid Worm going first.
Oh, okay.
In the mirror. And then I put in triple tactical talents. That's it.
Okay.
Because you're just trying to rip a card out your opponent's hand or take control depending.
Okay.
Yep.
I think I have to go for Rhino Heart here.
Yeah, I have no response for right now. On Hofness, I'm assuming you're using the effect, so
yeah.
You're using a Hofness. Alright, so yeah, I will Magnum at that one.
Sure.
And then, yeah, Magnum at effect.
I think I'm gonna draw 2. Thank you for the sub, Melfi. Which one's the shuffle deck? This one.
Do you not have a card for Keldo to discard? If you have a card for Keldo to discard, there's a better line.
Oh, I do.
I would special Keldo, discard whatever card in your hand, and then search for Agito or Kelbeck. Doesn't make a difference. Kelbeck more than likely, because I think we side out one Agito. So one Kelbeck, and then you overlay these two monsters. You make Dweller, use Dweller effect, and you want to detach Rhinoheart here.
Okay.
It has to be detach Rhinoheart because you want to use it to fuse at some point, and then you want to go affect the Sheer and melee cards.
Oh, okay. Okay, mill 8.
So you mill 8. I'm gonna mill 5. Yeah, and now you're just chilling. Now you can literally do whatever you want.
So I have Merly and Sharon and Scream.
Yeah, so you search crime. You search crime, and then you use all the cards in your grave to make. Well, you have to use a lot of different things actually. You have to use a card off your field too, but that's fine. So you should use Merly, Sheeran, Rhino. Is it actually worth making Kaleido Heart? Let me think. If it's worth making Kaleido Heart, it might not be worth making Kaleido Heart. Just yeah, just use the 2 in the grave to make Arua, I think.
Oh, I don't
And
make
then
Kit?
I think you should make Kit with Rhino Heart and the Merly in the grave.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't make Kaleido Heart here because you don't need to.
Yeah, because we already mill Scream.
Yeah, and then you could search for
Soliak, right?
Soliak, and then you want to pop my Magnemite with your Palorino.
Oh, okay.
So then you search for. So you search for Soliak.
And then we make Dark.
Yep, and then you Dark take my Magnemite. And you draw 1 card too. Don't forget to draw 1 card. I'll figure it out.
Okay. Interesting.
And then you take my Magnemite, and then you use my Magnemite effect to search. And make sure you summon that to the zone. Dark points too.
Oh, whoops.
And then you use effect of Magnemite to search. And then you should probably link these 2 off, and then make Elf. Do you have a Bestial in your hand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you should link these 2 off, then make Elf. And then
Bring back Diviner.
Diviner, and then Diviner send orange, and then you summon whatever Bestial that's in your hand, and then you make Baron. And then that's the board. And then you search 1 on the end phase for any Bestial. And there's just no way to beat that. There's just no way to beat that. You have both traps, Baron, Dweller, and you have Baron, Dweller, both traps. With Elf. These are the boards I was making at the tournament. Through anything. Through a Bestial, I'm doing this.
Oh, man. Okay, maybe that wasn't the interactive duel that we were hoping for.
Happen? No. You're not gonna play interactive Yu-Gi-Oh! If you know how to play this deck, full potential, it's not gonna be interactive Yu-Gi-Oh! Honestly, I was talking about it with a lot of friends. I think that the end of the week there might be a ban list depending on how this European Championship goes. Depending on how this European YCS goes this week, we're probably gonna be seeing a ban list. We seen 26 decks, or was it 26 or 28? Tier make top cut at the last event. So I mean, we're definitely due for a ban list. I think for tier. The deck is crazy, and honestly, the only interactive Yu-Gi-Ohs are that you're gonna play in this game right now is if your opponent messes up. And honestly, that's the game right now, and that's what I try to tell everyone. It's not gonna come down to the about the deck. The deck is broken. The deck is tier 0. If you know how to play this deck to perfection, it's gonna be perfection every time. But the issue is that a lot of people don't have the time, don't put in the hours, don't put in the testing to know the deck fully, and then it's just like then it's grindy, interactful games because when there's mess ups on both ends, the games become grindy and interactful. Like because like now like you're both like just trying to win a match that like win a match, and then you both have like 20 cards in your grave. So it just depends.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zara, I have to get going. It was great.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And yeah, happy birthday. So yeah, Zara, you have a good one, okay?
Okay, thanks, Hani. Bye bye.
All right, thank you. Bye bye. Have a
Okay, if you guys want to get coaching from Hani, just use that link over here. This is his Medify, so you can get prepared for a tournament. Hani is a mid teacher. That's not a very nice thing to say. I learned a lot whenever I was just with him just now. Okay, anyway, so this is the end of the video. I know it was super long, but I think it's super worth it. You learn about tier from the expert himself, and if you have any questions about tier, you can follow up with Hani on his Medify or follow him on Twitch. Okay? Alright, thank you. Bye bye.